Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Peteman Reviews. Today we have the Generation 1 Autobot Hoist. This is the commemorative variant. The only real difference between this and the original one is that this has a lot weakened strength on the missiles. So buttons you would press to either fire a missile or his hand are actually severely weakened, so they don't really do that. We'll show this in robot mode. Otherwise it's pretty much identical. Now, it's obviously a redeco of tracks. Tracks would have had... What I'm saying tracks? I don't mean tracks at all. What I mean is Trailbreaker. Trailbreaker would have had a kind of extra part of the roof here. Hoist doesn't. Otherwise, it's obviously just the colour schemes that have changed. The actual robot, the actual truck mode is pretty good. It's got nice wheels. Quite good detailing, particularly the front is very nice detailing and nice chrome on it. All this orange stuff is clearly meant to be the actual hoist element, so the idea is that can flip back up there, but it's not in use. And then when he wants to pull someone, in theory you can use this to try and hook on a car. I'm not sure that it actually does, however the theory is there, but you can hook it out the way. So yeah, it's quite a nice vehicle. You can detach all of this stuff, which you will need to do for the transformation. So we might as well detach it now. A little bit tricky coming off there. It kind of pops into place. So you see what it's got are these two hooks here. You see this sometimes pops out, but that just slides back in. It's got two little hooks, two little holes there, which go either side here of his head. So when you have it out, it still looks alright, but it does very much reveal some of the robot transformation, so you kind of need to have all this orange gubbins on there to make it work. Okay, so in terms of transformation, Hoist is relatively simple to transform. It's a bit ungainly in robot mode, but let's give it a shot, shall we? So we're just going to move these out to begin with. These will form the arms, and this just helps the transformation. The back very easily flips up around like that, and these are his feet, so you just want to do like that. So they're quite stable feet, which is good. So these become the arms, and you just pull them up like that. So we'll do the same on this side, pull round, and then just pull this part up to make the arm. As you can see, some of the decals are a little bit moving, but that's okay. Now this is a slightly tricky bit in that you have to, because this is obviously Hoist's head, but the way you have to do it is setting there. Before we do Hoist's head, it's worth pointing, you can quite obviously see a flap here, which is very clearly for a little man who even sits, you can just see in there's a seat, for his pre-Transformer days when he was from another series. Probably Microman or something. So that's really obvious. It's one of the more obvious ones on Hoist, and it's interesting they even left it for the commemorative release as well. Anyway, I digress. So the head, you need to get the head on top of this. So it's just, you can see it's got a little bit of a fairly complex flipping up, so you flip that up so it's level like that, and then that will sit on top of that panel there for the robot mode. Now this goes flat to form his stomach, and that becomes the chest. The legs do pull out a little bit. You need to pull them out a little bit to give him some stability. That's pretty much it. It's not the greatest transformation in the world, it has to be said. Now, all this stuff at the back here does go back onto the rear, because you need to fold these up this way to produce the wings at the back, and this just slots up out of the way too. However, before we do that, we'll just slot on the rear mounted, I think they were meant to be sensors behind his head, and that's very simple. There's a peg here and a hole in the back of his head, and that just slots in like so. Quite a secure slot, and actually works very well. This you then just need to back as you would into the car mode. So you see, let's try and angle to get some light here. Yeah, see there's two little holes there, one on either side. You just put this back on, one there, same again other side, and that gives him quite a substantial amount to the bit. So a lot of it is perspective to make it work. And then here we are, if I just put him a bit more obvious there. And then finally you've got the hands. Now you come with a choice of hands, you come with a choice of weapons. The ones I tend to go for are his left hand, as that's pretty much what he mostly had on the show, and this little double-barreled missile / laser. So they just slot into place here. He doesn't come with a gun per se, because he's got the missile that fires out. And I'll just show you here. See, these are the firing slots here, but you press them in the commemorative release and nothing happens. In the originals, it would fire his hand at someone, but or a weapon if you want it. It's kind of a bit of a pointless thing. It's very much what Trax had. I keep saying Trax. I mean to say Trailbreaker had, and Grapple and Inferno. Okay, so there we are. That is Hoist. It's a bit clunky, as in common with most of the G1 robots. It's an excellent alt mode. Robot mode, somewhat lacking, and a lot of it just kind of... It's kind of quite difficult to keep in one place, as you can see, if I ever make sure that my hand doesn't get in the way. It kind of, just the way it works, you can see that was going to happen, like this, is not the easiest thing to actually keep in place. It's also extremely bulky at the back. There's an awful lot going on here, an awful lot of kibble to get the perspective shot. If you actually look at it in perspective, when I reattached this bit that fell off, it looks very, very much like Hoist does, both in his limited appearance in the comics, his very limited appearance in the comics, and his more substantial cartoon appearance. You know, this is just going to cut off. I think we all saw that one coming. So it is, in that respect, the comics, rather the cartoon in particular, is a very good representation of the robot. But the robot itself isn't particularly good. It's very much made. You pose him, and then you don't touch him again, because he will fall over. You see, the orange stuff at the back here actually rests on the back here, and that provides him with a little bit of almost stability so that he doesn't keep going back, but it's not the best connection in the world. So it's very much you get him into a pose that you want, and then you don't touch him. That's it, he stays there. I do like the shiny bits. The colour scheme is actually pretty good. Yes, it is clearly a remould of Trailbreaker. Got it right that time. But actually it's suitably different that, you know, it doesn't really matter that it's a remould. It's got some nice little changes to it. The legs, I don't really like the legs, but they are absolutely accurate to the cartoon, or rather the cartoon is absolutely accurate to the toy, so it's worth mentioning that. It works much better as a vehicle. Much better as a vehicle, and that's probably his best mode, is actually a vehicle mode, because it's quite solid. The legs do have a tendency to fall out because of the way they're constructed, but once you slot them in, it's fine, and rolling on the ground obviously is fine, and it looks a lot better as a robot, as a vehicle. As a robot, it is a little bit clunky. It works as long as you don't touch him, but it's a little bit clunky. When we compare him to his contemporary, Perceptor, who was the same wave 2, while Perceptor's robot is, again, a little bit clunky, it is a better design, a better robot. Yes, it's bigger, but it's not really about the height. Perceptor is just a bit more functional than Hoist is. And that's what we also compare him with Thrilling 30's RC as well, because they are very similar heights. And actually the two work very well together, with RC being considerably slimmer, considerably more manoeuvrable, and frankly more deadly as well. Just look at the weaponry on her. Hoist is, I guess in that respect, Hoist is actually very true to his character. He's clunky, he's inefficient, he's a mechanic, ultimately. And perhaps as a mechanic, his best mode is his alt mode, which is, as the name implies, for hoisting injured robots and carrying them along, whereas The robot mode struggles a little bit. There are better robots that you can have for that, such as Wheeljack and Ratchet, with Hoist in his alt mode to get the injured Autobots to Ratchet and Wheeljack. Anyway, what do you think? Am I being a bit too harsh? Yes, it's alright, a robot. It's much better in its vehicle mode. Please leave any comments below. Click on the other links, subscribe to some more videos, and I'll see you for the next episode. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.